Back again for another 2010 movie review mentions part 3. So here we go, carrying on from parts 1 and 2. Now part 3, here's another list of 6 movies that I saw in the March to April period. Here we go. First on the allocated list is in any random order. First is Shutter Island. Now this is directed by Martin Scorsese. Now I've only seen The Departed from what he's done before, and he did a very good job with that despite having a ridiculously confusing plot. Anyways, I saw Shutter Island on its opening day, March 12th, here in Britain, because it's another example of how Americans always get these films before we do, which sucks. Anyways, but Shutter Island. Now it started off pretty good, but the plot of the movie is basically this. It stars Leonardo DiCaprio's Teddy Daniels and his partner in crime, and they've got to basically try and investigate the disappearance of a woman on a strange island, probably as you guys call Shutter Island. And what happens is that they start unraveling mysteries, and then things aren't quite as what they seem, and then it builds up to a ridiculously confusing ending with very little explanation involved, which is really unfortunate because I was enjoying this movie at the start. Don't get me wrong, I still liked this movie, but I think had a bit more of an explanation towards the end as to what the freaking hell was going on, rather than just saying, oh, let's just put out random stuff here and there. You know, the third act just blew it. But the acting is top notch though. Leonardo DiCaprio and Ben Kingsley are the two noticeable ones, and there's only two of the names I know, to be honest. But I think that Leonardo DiCaprio and Ben Kingsley really portrayed their characters well. So, there you go. So, 3.5 stars out of 5 for Shutter Island. Next is a much better movie, I might add, and it's directed by the same guy who did the second and third Bourne movies, which, as Tom Chatterbash, I quote, were beautifully badass. And this is Green Zone. So this stars Matt Damon as a general who is just basically fighting in the war in Iraq and is just bringing an end to it, pretty much. Simple plot as can be, any war movie is pretty straightforward. You know, Matt Damon, of course, as usual, he does a terrific job here. Paul Greengrass does some really nifty things with the camera, you know, and I think that it makes you feel exactly like you're in a war. Same with The Hurt Locker, really. But, you know, this is a bit better than The Hurt Locker, I think, because it was a bit more interesting. Even though maybe the first third, maybe the first half of the movie is a bit so-so, it's a bit slow. And admittedly, Jason Isaacs is incredibly underused, as is Brendan Gleeson. But I think that overall the acting is very good. The action is phenomenally amazing. Cinematography as well, really just amazing and, you know, mind-blowing, I think. So 4.5 stars out of 5 for Green Zone. Next is The Spy Next Door. Now this is Jackie Chan, who is just basically him looking after some kids. They discover who he is, want in on the action, and he has to tell a girl about it, sort of thing. You'll know what I mean when you see the film, if you do, that is. And this movie itself, let's be honest, I wasn't particularly looking forward to go and see this movie. I think it just looked like a really cheesy slapstick comedy and predictable, and it was. But strangely, it was also entertaining. Surprise, surprise. Jackie Chan, I might add, kicks ass in this movie. Particularly towards the final act, the final battle sequences, I think were just terrifically done. And the slapstick comedy, while yes, it's cheesy, yes, it's been done before, but all the same, it's just, you just can't help but love it. You know, you just can't help but like the way it's done. So 3.5 stars out of 5 for The Spy Next Door. Next is a film that's directed by the same guy who directed Hitch, even though I haven't seen that movie, and stars Jennifer Aniston and Gerard Butler, The Bounty Hunter. Now, this movie itself is hilariously funny, and I liked the idea of how completely, and I mean completely, original it was. Oh my god. Okay, let's start out. Gerard Butler and Jennifer Aniston are a brilliant on-screen couple. I don't know if they're actually going out in real life, but that's another story. Not relevant to this video anyway. But they are such a brilliant on-screen couple, and the chemistry is just there. You know, it's there. The comedy itself isn't overplayed. It doesn't affect my enjoyment, even if it was a bit over the top sometimes. But the idea itself was original for me. I haven't seen a film like this any before, and I didn't love it because it was a little bit too predictable in places. but nonetheless, I think and the action sequences are pretty well executed as well. I don't know why this has been getting such negative reviews. It always seems that every good film that I've seen gets negative reviews, but I don't know why. Because they're talking bullshit, the critics, half the time they don't know. You know, when they praise a movie, 500 Days of Summer, and I think it's absolutely shit. But there you go. Anyways, but The Bounty Hunter itself, I thought for me, was a very entertaining movie, and it was certainly something original, and it was a break, and it was just a laugh out loud comedy. So 4 stars out of 5 for The Bounty Hunter, and the plot is just basically Gerard Butler taking Jennifer and his ex-wife, Jennifer Aniston, to jail. Best job ever, right? Right, next on the list is I Love You, Philip Morris. Now, the plot of this movie, essentially, it's based on a real, actual, true story, which I was surprised to hear. But it's basically about Jim Carrey plays Steve Russell, I think it is, who basically falls for Philip Morris, played by Ewan McGregor, and it goes through their personal relationships, what happened before then, and how this relationship evolves, what happens after the relationship, etc. So there's complications regarding their relationship. So, for me, I Love You, Philip Morris, when I was heard on, now for some reason, non-fiction films don't seem to be as appealing to me as fictional films. But with I Love You, Philip Morris, there's been some true story movies that I think have been brilliant. I can't name at the top of my head. But I Love You, Philip Morris, though, the thing is, I really liked this movie. I thought it was a very good film. It was very funny in places. It really exceeded the bounds of the comedy. And some of the lines in this movie are pretty hilarious and inventive. You know, particularly those ones. Now, excuse my language for this, but it's literally Ewan McGregor says to Jim Carrey, "Oh, enough romance, let's fuck." You know, that's just, it's such a classic line. You know, the flaws about it though, I didn't think it was a bit indecisive in terms of what speed it was going to play out. It starts out good, but then it goes horribly slow, and then I was thinking to myself, God, something happened, please, I'm getting bored, and then something happens. So thankfully it saves itself, but it was a bit too slow, and admittedly, you know, I don't know, it's just, sometimes as movies you just know something's not right, even though you can't put your mind on it, what it is. But anyway, that's another story. So 4 stars out of 5 anyway for I Love You, Philip Morris, because the acting was very good as well. The final one on this list is Nanny McPhee and the Big Bang. Yes, it is a stupid and yet lame title. I know. But with Nanny McPhee too, now I literally saw the first film hours before seeing the second one, both for the first time, I know. So literally the day the second one came, a couple of days after the second one came out, I watched the first one, and it was pretty good. You know, it's a bit predictable sometimes, and the ending it will be, of course. But, you know, admittedly, I liked it, because it's something a bit original for me. With the sequel, Nanny McPhee 2, Emma Thompson does a very good job here, and I really think that she excels what she did in the first film. It's funnier, and it's more charming, and more emotional at heart. And it's just basically Nanny McPhee doing the same thing she did in the first movie, but it's taking place on a farm. But overall, you know, it was a bit predictable, but I think this is better than the first one. The first one I give 3.5 stars, this one 4 out of 5. So overall, it's a very heartwarming sequel, and it's one of those cases where sequels are better than the original, despite being directed by a different director. So overall, 4 stars out of 5 for Nanny McPhee 2. So that's the end of part 3, and stay tuned for part 4.